GM, we are live here running some big boards. This is, I believe, the 26th-ish big board that I have done. Waiting for 4, so anyone feel free to hop into this one, and we'll see what we can do. In the meantime, I guess I can pull up my exposures, see what we've got so far in these pre-draft contests. So I guess I've done 50 of these, 24 big boards, 25 little boards, and a war room. And for some reason, a whole heck of a lot of someone named Bashal Tootin. I don't really know why I have so much Bashal Tootin. I have found myself clicking on running backs at the end of drafts more than wide receivers, and evidently clicking on the name of one Bashal Tootin quite a bit. So interesting to see that that's that high. Not too surprised to see Najee. I think he's a value there. Same with Njoku. I love Njoku. I think he's in line for a really big season. And beyond that, it's a little bit of happenstance, maybe more than targeted exposures. I do love Jack Beck. I'm glad I'm getting him where I am. He seems like a riser. I could just be buying hype, of course. Not too displeased with the way I'm seeing things. Trying to not get anyone over 30. So some of these I'm hoping to bring down. Especially people like Tootin and Giddens, who, I mean, that's a lot of a late round click. We're getting into Dylan Laube territory there. So, one left here. One left to join. Go to the draft. One more fire. And we will see. We will see where we end up. And it looks like it has indeed filled. So we get to 102, which is great. I love getting one of these first 2 spots in the draft. It does feel like there are some serious tier breaks in these drafts. And the 1-2 is definitely a break with Chase and Barkley. And then after that, it's a little bit of a choose your own adventure in this Bijan, Jefferson, Gibbs, Puka, Lamb range. And then I kind of see another tier with Collins, Amon-Ra, Thomas, Neighbors. If you end up with a 12 hole and it goes this kind of 1 through 11 here, I feel like you're really missing out. I feel like there's almost like a big 11, and it's hard for me to push any of these guys into that same range. I mean, you're not like dead or anything. You're getting 2 really good players, but I think there's a few different tier breaks in these big boards, at least as they have gone. So hopefully not going to get too many auto drafters here. Hello, welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Glad you can make it here. We're going to take Saquon here at the 102. Nothing too controversial with this first selection. I was noting before, I think there's a fairly notable tier break after the first 2. I think with Jamar and Saquon, and then you get into this Bijan range, pretty much down to Neighbors. And if somehow you're in the 12 hole and they're all gone, I don't really like where you're sitting that much. I think you're going to end up with, 2 good players with your first 2 picks, but it does seem like there's some maybe more substantial tiers than there were last year, at least in the big board from what I remember. Only problem, of course, with the first 2 picks is you're waiting quite a while for your next 2 to come around, but we'll see what we get. Again, the scourge of the auto drafter. whatever reason, seems a lot worse than last year, but so far so good in this room. We're at least moving along. Again, nothing too controversial, but this really did go in that 1 through 11 order, and now the 12 hole sitting here. I think Gene T's fine because I'm of the view that he's going to settle around where Bijan did last year. I think they're probably pretty similar prospects, and Bijan was going at a 7 or 8. So taking Gene T at 12 to me seems fine. Seems like a fine way to start off draft. Again, AJ Brown, he was a guy we were drafting in the first round of BBMs. So I think he's a nice value if you're at this 1-2 turn range, if you're drafting in the back half of the 1. The range of running backs is really quite interesting because you can really kind of tell yourself a story about all these guys. A-Chain definitely fell off a bit when he was asked to carry the entire workload in Miami. I think they're a candidate to add someone. I don't know if they're really in love with Wright that much, and Mostert was almost done by the end of the year. Is Henry going to keep getting away with it? I mean, he's yet another year older, but he's in such a great offense, and he's going to score a ton of touchdowns as their sort of de facto goal line back. CMC, we all know what happened there. If he's we were taking him at the 101 last year. If he's fully back and healthy, he's a smash at the 17. I agree. It does seem worse than last year, but yeah, it'll be interesting once the Super Bowl comes, because I do think these are going to fire a bit slower, and hopefully it's more of the diehards who really want to be doing this. But also you're going to have people who might have been waiting an hour and then kind of forget. Jordan Mason to Miami. I mean, I'm a Dolphins fan. I wouldn't say no. He showed a lot of juice, I think. I do think McDaniel likes guys that can catch passes, and I don't know if Jordan Mason is legally allowed to catch a pass. We are up, by the way. And man, do I go full boomer and take a running back here? Or do I do think Josh Jacobs has really grown on me. I'm going to take Jacobs here and then take a wide receiver with my next pick. I think his role in Green Bay is so strong. I think that's a good offense. I don't love McLaurin despite having really loved him last year, and I'm going to take Garrett Wilson. Because he's a guy we were taking, I believe he was at the end of the first round last year, or at least the early second in BBM. So now we're getting him in the third. And I don't know that the situation is markedly worse. And if Adams leaves, I think he could end up with a target monster again. And I mean, he still had over 1,000 yards last year in what was considered a down year. So I'm going to bet on the talent on Garrett Wilson. I think he's mispriced going behind McLaurin, who felt like he ran. I was a huge McLaurin slappy this year. I drafted a ton of him in Daniels, but I have a real hard time drafting McLaurin at the beginning of the third. Now, obviously, if Daniels takes another step forward and they don't really add anyone, then he's going to be a smash. But I don't know. I'm a little skeeved out with that price that high, but I'm probably going to have to start taking him because I don't want no McLaurin. We'll open the board. We can see, again, nothing too controversial. No one doing anything too crazy. Polo is the only true believer of the zero RB system so far, with opening Lamb, Ladd, and MHJ, which personally I think this year, with the rookie running backs as strong as they are, going zero RB makes a ton of sense. I'm doing that in a lot of builds, just not ones where I get Saquon. And then the siren song of Jacobs was too strong for me, so I did take him, but not trying to go triple running back too often in a class where the later running backs do seem like they could be real values. So we see some of the early quarterbacks go. We see Allen and Lamar. Catfish Mo, not worried about getting behind at wide receiver with only one receiver through 4. Pretty risky, but, those are all really strong players. Seeing Worthy go ahead of Rice, which is where I think it should be. Have a lot of concerns about Rice personally. I mean, between the injury and some kind of suspension, I have no idea. The wheels of justice are moving very slow in that case. I've heard absolutely nothing on it, but I don't think it's going away. But yeah, there Rice goes at 40. So you'll see Rice go ahead of Worthy sometimes. I think that's wrong personally. The Worthy breakout is real, in my opinion. But if Rice is fully healthy and back, week 8, week 10, and is who you need in the playoffs, you're going to really wish you had him. But it's really hard for me to take him in the 4th round when there's so many other good players available. So streak of wide receivers ended by this guy who takes Jalen Hurts. I'm going to pull the board up because I've got to start. And this is the one other thing about McLaurin I'll note, because Daniels just went. It's really hard to get McLaurin Daniels together unless Daniels falls quite far, which he doesn't do very often, or you reach and you take Daniels quite early. Like you take them at the 2-3-ish turn is the only way to really guarantee it. So I am on the clock. A slew of receivers are available to me. Boy, this is a tough decision because I do like a lot of these guys. I think I am most intrigued by the rookie. I know Zay Flowers I have ranked higher, and by ADP he's more of a value. I like stacking him with Lamar when I can. So Flowers comes back to me. You know what? I'm not going to overthink it. I'll just take Flowers. It's meant to be. He's a great player, great offense. I would have had no problem taking Waddle or Addison there. I don't really want to fade Flowers, and I also don't only want to have Flowers when I have Lamar, because sometimes you can end up with these pieces that seem correlated, but then, there's an injury or something weird, and you end up with 2 guys tied together all the time, and one guy, falls off or again gets hurt. So I don't always want them together. So happy to take there. I think considering we started with 2 running backs, Wilson, McMillan, and Flowers, not the worst way. Again, we were taking Flowers last year at the 3-4 turn, or was it the 2-3 turn? I remember him being on this side of the board. I think he was going around 37, 38 last year. So get him at 50 feels like a value. Baltimore certainly a candidate to add a little more firepower in the receiving room. But Bateman came along, and they still have Likely and Andrews. So I don't see things changing too much. Flowers, good young player, so don't mind the pick there. Yeah, nothing too controversial coming down with the pike with any of these picks. Chris Olave is a name I want to note because I don't think I've drafted him yet, but I think it's just because I find myself taking running backs a lot here, so I'll take Hampton or Ken Walker. If he's healthy, he's a guy we were taking in the 2nd round, and obviously a risk with the concussions, but that could happen to anyone. It's kind of random. I don't know if he's going to be any more prone than anyone else. So I think he's a good value there. I reach for Daniels McLaurin stack on a team. Got to do what you got to do. You do, because otherwise you'll never get it. And you might need it. I got 5 teams to the semis in BBM. I didn't get anyone into the finals. But I had 5 semis teams, and I think 4 of them were Daniels McLaurin teams because they absolutely went off week 15. And so if those kind of combos happen and you just like ideologically say I'm never going to do it, you're running the risk of going to zero, especially when the advanced structure late is only one team going through. I feel like I should know what the week 15 structure is in the big board. I think 2 teams go through. I'd have to look. It's the kind of thing you should know when you're doing these. And but yeah, I agree there. Like sometimes you gotta just reach for those stacks if it's something like that where it's 2 just elite players. So no problem doing that. Notable picks, I think Laporta at 63 is such a steal. He was a guy we were taking as the first tight end off the board last season. I don't think he should go behind Kittle. I don't really understand his price. It feels way too cheap for someone who is such a red zone target in such a good offense. So I think he's a great pick there. I am on the board. Speaking of ideological opposition, I am not taking any fat Debo. I'm just going to take Ridley. I think, Tennessee is live to take, probably Cam Ward. They're definitely going to upgrade their quarterback position. So I think I like Ridley quite a bit. I was down on him last year, but I think he's a good pick here. I'm so skeeved out by by Debo and Ayuk. Ayuk coming off the injury. Debo, not just the latest photo where he looked like a linebacker. Just things don't seem quite right. So now I have a question of what to do. Do I take another running back or do I take one of these receivers here? I have been taking a lot of Juwan Jennings. It feels weird taking the third Niner receiver over the 2 guys who are ranked and by ADP higher. So this is me IKBing it, and I may not actually know better. But it does feel like Jennings isn't going away. He was so productive for them. I think Debo is a candidate to get traded. I never was a big Ayuk guy. I'm a big Arizona State fan. I was always, I think, a little lower on Ayuk. Maybe I graded him on too much of a curve. But coming off of the injury, he's a guy that apparently wants to go play with Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. So I could see them moving Ayuk if he's unhappy. I think this wide receiver room is in flux, but I think Jennings is kind of locked in. And he was really good last season. So I'm going to take a little bit of a stand there. I haven't decided if I really want to fully fade Debo, which is scary because, he has such a history as a game breaker. But we will see. So far, the team is Saquon and Jacobs at running back, Garrett Wilson, Ted McMillan, Zay Flowers, Calvin Ridley, and Juwan Jennings at wide receiver. So we'll see, right? This is a weird room to stack quarterback. When we start, the quarterback pocket really begins in the early 90s. I really don't think I want to be taking Aaron Rodgers. We don't know where McMillan's going. Zay Flowers QB's already gone. Calvin Ridley, we could take Cam Ward, but then they might not take Cam Ward. And then we got Brock Purdy. But at that point, you're stacking your 5th receiver, who in theory isn't going to hit your lineup every time because, we've got 4 receivers we drafted ahead of him. So kind of in a weird spot as far as quarterback goes. Also unlikely that Purdy is going to come back to me because I have to get by the Debo and Ayuk drafter who's going to pick ahead of me. And by ADP, it says he will be gone, I believe, before I'm up or right around. So we'll see. We will see what happens. In theory, I should be able to push the quarterback around because this guy has Joe Burrow. But you never know. People do weird stuff in these streets. So 9 picks away, and we will see what happens. We will see what happens. So McMillan goes, Jacoby Myers, Jalen Warren, who I like quite a bit at running back. It seems Najee is quite unlikely to re-sign in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's certainly a candidate to add somebody. I don't foresee Warren turning into some kind of bell cow, but he could get a little more of the early down work than he was getting. He was pretty effective last year. Definitely passed the eye test for me watching him. So he's a guy that Pat Kerrane was super high on last year. And I don't see why that would change this year, especially, again, with Najee looking like he's on the way out. Travis Hunter goes at 88, which, my God, what are we doing? That is terrible. It's terrible for a lot of reasons. Personally, because I think you just drafted a cornerback at 88. Secondly, he was going in the 180s. He settled, now around 120. So you are just behind so many teams that have already drafted. And I know that's not a reason to not, you can't not take him at 120 because people got him at 180. But reaching into 88, that's not great. Just not a fan of that move. Now, if they announce he's a wide receiver, I imagine he might even go higher than that. But that seems super thin to me. So I love Jonnu and Njoku. I think they're both really strong. I'm tempted to double tap tight end, personally. I'm going to take Jonnu here because that also opens up a little bit of a backdoor. Tua, who goes later. If Njoku comes back to me, I could potentially, if Njoku gets taken, I could take Purdy. I'm a little torn. I'm a little torn on whether I want to double tight end here or take my quarterback. Yeah, he takes Kelsey, who I personally don't think he's going to retire, but that is quite a risk of taking a guy in the top 100. So this guy double taps tight end. Now I have tight end FOMO. Now I have a lot of FOMO. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Njoku. I'm going to double. Yeah, I agree. I hope that was a star method fiasco. Personally as well. So my little alpha on Njoku, this is what you get for hanging out here. Is Cleveland, excuse me, Cleveland promoted to offensive coordinator their tight end coach. So their new offensive coordinator is the tight end coach. Does that mean that they're going to feature the tight end all the time? Yeah, maybe. But I think it's certainly a factor in favor of Njoku this year. I love Njoku. I think he is a absolute smash where he is being drafted. We don't know who the quarterback's going to be, but I think it's wheels up on him. And I don't think Jonnu is going away. It's clear, they like featuring him. He has a rapport with Tua. I think these guys, I almost think Njoku could flip Jonnu because that Dolphins offense was so weird. It could end up being kind of retooled. They're more likely to focus on Hill and Waddle than building the plane out of Jonnu Smith, which is how it ended up. That said, I think at the 95th pick, that's a pretty darn good value for Jonnu when he was putting up numbers on par with any elite tight end. So here goes a great run of quarterbacks: Purdy, Kyler, and Goff. There's a pretty darn good chance that none of these are stacked. Let's see. Did Goff? All right, so Goff stacked. Kyler guy stacked him with Connor. I'll give partial credit there. And the Purdy guy. Yeah. Anytime. Oh, he has CMC. Okay, so we're getting some partial credit here for stacking. Caleb goes unstacked. But But yeah, it's sort of like people start scrambling for the QB lifeboats at this part of the draft, especially if they haven't gotten any yet. Should I have taken a quarterback there? Maybe, but I'm of the view that this second tier of quarterbacks is not that big a drop off from the first. I mean, Dak going at 125 to me is a little crazy because their offense has to be better. And we were taking Dak, in BBM, way ahead of that, if I remember right. I think Dak makes a ton of sense. I have no problem taking Drake May. He's got some nice rushing upside. I think for my team, I actually like May because my headcanon sort of says Tet McMillan is going to New England. That could be completely wrong, but at least in my head, I've created a stack. We'll see if that happens. He'll be right at ADP if I do get him one pick past. We'll see. I do have to fade two guys who need quarterbacks. Drafting one, we will see. I think Tua, I really like Tua. I'm going to have to see if I can I don't want to take him here. It seems really early, but I may have to. I may have to take an unstacked Dak because I don't think I want to go past this pick here at 122 without taking a quarterback. I think that's bad. But we will see. So Drake May does go. Unfortunately, this guy did need a quarterback. I can't be too mad at him. Again, people just stacking quarterbacks with their running back. So there we go. Yeah, I'm gonna be that guy and just take unstacked Dak. And just look at that 4,000 yard season. Say that could happen. Tell myself that they're going to draft a wide receiver. We're going to take probably another rookie wide receiver or two and hope that those pair up. Yeah, that sounds right. Okay, so we're getting him way past ADP. They're a candidate to take Gene T. They could just be a heck of a lot better. They could just be a heck of a lot better on offense. And yeah. This is a part of the board that I kind of hate. I really don't like Steph Diggs. I've been taking him a bit. I like Lee Gett as a sixth receiver. These running backs are gross. Like really gross. I don't really want to take an unstacked Herbert here. I'm going to take Lee Gett. Don't love this pick. I think I reached a little bit. That said, as a sixth receiver, I don't hate it. Sometimes Bryce Young is now a candidate for me to stack later. But yeah, these running backs, and if we go through them, Brian Robinson, I think Washington is likely to add somebody. He seems like just a guy to me. Tank Bigsby, again, Jacksonville. I can't just say everyone's going to draft a running back and then not take anybody, but Tank Bigsby did not exactly like the world on fire. Tajay Spears, I don't believe he has two ACLs. And they still have Pollard. Rico Dowdle's a free agent. He doesn't even have a team right now. Trey Benson was not great when called upon, and he wasn't called upon that much. I like Jerome Ford. I think he's a fine pick. Rashad White basically lost his job. So this is like the gross section of running backs. I would much rather personally wait and start taking some of these rookies like Samson, Gordon, than that sort of like really mediocre tier of running back like Spears. I mean, Spears has contingent upside. If Pollard gets hurt, then I suppose Spears makes sense. So you're really in backup running back range. Just for me, I think I'm still in a little bit of the like swing for the fences mindset with those running backs, at least in this part of the board. Kincaid goes, the much maligned Kincaid. Stroud goes unstacked. So this guy, he's got Caleb and Stroud. Not a stack in sight, just vibing. But again, I mean, I took unstacked Dak, so I've lost my ability to criticize people for taking unstacked quarterbacks. But again, I'm gonna take another rookie receiver or two, and they're gonna get drafted by Dallas, and that's just what you got to tell yourself when you take a non-rushing QB unstacked in the big board. So Tank goes, Trey Benson goes. Man, I took a lot of Trey Benson last year and took a lot of zeros because James Conner just never left the field. But then they were working in was it like DeMarcado too? Even when Conner was out or injured, Benson to me, I don't know if they really love Benson there. Oh, so Tua goes. Tua is who I wanted. So hopefully I get Bryce Young here. Which is something I never thought I'd say. I think I drafted 0 Bryce Young last year, but I have been won over by Bryce Young. I would love to push him, but this guy, oh no, Bryce Young goes to a guy that has absolutely no need for him. You stink, Mr. Good Luck. Okay, well, guess what? Cam Ward, welcome to the team, buddy. And hopefully we've built the Cam Ward, Calvin Ridley stack. That was a little unfortunate, but we roll with the punches. Man, Evan Ingram is to me a great value here, but do I really need a third tight end? That is the question here. Let's see, by ADP. So one of the rookies goes. Man. Do I want to reach for a Xavier Restrepo type? I'm very worried about Coker being just a guy and not actually keeping that job that he has. I think he was a UDFA or a 7th round pick. We're going to go full boomer. Best player available. Take Evan Ingram. Be done at tight end. And it's going to be rookie time from here on out. If I could have taken another quarterback here, but I think this is a really elite tight end room. There's an argument to be made that I could have stopped with Smith and Njoku. But I think these are 3 guys who could legitimately hit the lineup. This feels very late for Ingram. This to me is a little bit of a dead zone. Ingram doesn't have a team and is expensive. I see that argument. I respect that argument. I disagree. I don't disagree that he doesn't have a team because it is true. He could not be back with Jacksonville. But I think I'm betting on the talent here. And my understanding is he is likely to go back to Jacksonville. Expensive to NFL teams, not to drafters. Yeah. That is fair. I think he's likely to return to Jacksonville. That's what I had heard. I could be wrong. So that might have been a misstep there because there are some, you can take some late round flyers. Your Fannons of the world, Tyler Higbee makes sense. You could take the chance on a Taysom Hill being back from the knee injury. Juwan Johnson goes undrafted most of the time. So, and Juwan Johnson, I believe, was a BBM winner a couple years ago, or at least, was an absolute smash in the playoffs. And the Saints are likely to be a bit better than they were last year. So, going forward, you should consider Strange, 2nd round pick 2 years ago. That is younger. Were you the one in the Discord touting Strange? I know someone was arguing with Davis about Strange, and he seemed bearish. But I am sympathetic to the argument that tight ends kind of come out of nowhere and are a bit of a late blooming position. So if Jacksonville is happy with Strange, I play a lot of DFS, and I was there for the whole Strange roller coaster. I had him the week that he was awesome, and then went back to the well. And did he like fumbled or something, and then they just like didn't play him. It was weird usage. I remember when that happened. So I'm just a little skeptical that they're like think he's kind of the locked in tight end of the future. But if he is, you're getting a guy who's literally not drafted like 95+% of the time. I don't think I've ever seen him get drafted. Maybe I just haven't been paying close enough attention. So I think that's the kind of pick you can definitely make in a 20-round contest like this that, you know, could really differentiate your team. All right, let's see if we do get Restrepo. We don't get Restrepo because we are simply not allowed to have nice things here. I will be taking. This is gross. I'm going to take Braylon Allen here. This is purely put my faith in Davis Maddock. He really is high on Allen. I think I waited a little long for my third running back here. I will be adding him, and I will be adding another running back. The question is who? ADP says Jalen Wright. I am kind of out on Jalen Wright. This is such a gross range. Man. I feel like earlier big boards, you could get some rookie names you liked here, and now I'm literally looking at like a guy who's going to retire, someone I don't believe in. Ugh, this is bad. Yikes. I am tempted to just take my next quarterback here. I'm just going to take Matthew Stafford. I don't know if this is the best team I've ever made. I'm going to be honest with you here. This is pretty greasy team. I think the Evan Ingram pick was bad. I should have taken a running back there because I don't love Braylon Allen as my running back 3. I am really heavy on Barkley and Jacobs here. Don't love taking unstacked Matt Stafford. That feels pretty gross. Braylon Allen can be Aaron Glenn's David Montgomery. I mean, I hope so, right? I hope so. Yeah, with a new staff, it's hard to know what they're going to do. I hate that they also took Isaiah Davis, who I think is actually a pretty good player. So, I mean, I think Braylon Allen will be the number 2, but I also thought Izzy Abanikanda was going to be the number 2 last year in New York, and that went sideways. I don't even think he's in the league anymore. I maybe it's just like I've been burned by this Jets running back room, and so I'm skeeved out. I really liked Braylon Allen last year as a prospect. I don't mind him on the team. I just wish he was my 4th or 5th running back, not my 3rd running back. And I think from a roster construction standpoint, I got greedy double tapping tight end where I did, which I don't hate doing, but then I think adding another one was bad. The running back situation has changed dramatically from when these big boards were going on 2 weeks ago, to where it's a lot harder to catch up at running back than I think it was. So we will see what happens here. Part of it's also I don't like Roshan and Kendre. I think we're wish casting a role onto Kendre that may not exist. We all want this Kendre thing to happen so bad, but I think they're going to draft a running back, and Kendre Miller's going to 0. That's just my gun to my head opinion of what's happening there. I mean, if I remember right, the runway was cleared for Kendre, and he still wasn't very good late in the season. I have a real trouble drafting him. I would rather take a flyer on one of these kind of wheel of running backs in this range. So Jack Beck goes. I mean, I can't even have a little treat here. This is not my favorite draft. I apologize. This one got away from me here, but we will try to land the plane. But I believe one of the engines is on fire, and it's not looking good. It's not looking good to land this plane, but we're gonna do our best. I tend to like doing 6 running back, 8 wide receiver. So I will be taking those positions. Obviously, no more quarterbacks or tight ends coming down the pike for me. I could just turn these 2 on so I'm not tempted. But I like to leave everything on so I can kind of get a better sense of who is going where. Jatavion Sanders goes. Fanning goes. Wandale is the next by ADP. I am going to take DJ Giddens. Welcome to the team. Can't tell you much about old DJ Giddens, I'm not going to lie. But he is a mystery box here, and I am trusting the Matic ranks and going to take him there. I think my next pick will likely be Brashard Smith. I think he is going to be a riser. So he's somebody that I've been taking late in drafts. I think he has, pass catching. I think he has the potential of any of these really late running backs to be somewhat of a bell cow. Could step into that role. So I'll take Smith there. I cannot blame the chat. This was a Chad Candles production, and just not one of the best ones you'll ever watch. But I will say, at least there's audio, because I have done this and I literally talked for an hour and 40 minutes to myself, and then I went back and there was no audio. It was just silence. And the Chad Candles silent film era was not a successful one, and it was brutal. So I am glad you can hear me, and things are on the ascendancy here. But yeah, I mean, it's not like this team is horrible. I just don't necessarily love the way I constructed the wide receiver room. Again, when you take Saquon and Jacobs, you're counting on them to be the ones hitting your lineup. So I could tell myself a story where I went kind of hyper fragile. But I don't think I really believe that story, because I don't think Jacobs is the guy I'm relying week in, week out, the way I am, a Saquon or a Gene T or a Achane kind of player. I don't think it's quite the same bet as when you're doing that from the right side of the draft board. But hopefully, right? But yeah, I mean, if Braylon Allen's hitting my lineup, things are either going really well or really badly. And we will see. All right, so we have 11 picks to go. I think there's been some auto-ers, so it's slowing down. This is now the part of the draft where you can just take whomever you want. All bets are off. Noah Gray goes. I mean, my God, we are in the thick of it here. For me, the biggest challenge is not clicking the same names every time, because that's how you end up with 40% Dylan Laube, which is what happened to me last year. As much as I liked the story of a New Hampshire running back who could catch passes. I should not have had him on 40% of teams. It just doesn't make sense. So for me, something I'm working on this year is just avoiding those comfy clicks, trying to mix up the end of my drafts a little more than I have been. Kendre Miller is still here, trying to lure me into disaster like a siren, but I hear tied to the mast will simply not click the name Kendre Miller. I can't do it. And I just tried to add Boudet to my queue and just whiffed. It was just gone. And I clicked Russell Wilson. That's a bad omen there. I've been kind of booty pilled. It could just be that pick, playing pickleball with Drake May. That's enough to get me on a player on February 8th. But in all seriousness, I think he's not a terrible late pick here. My God, I was going to take Tez Johnson. This is a nightmare. Everyone I want, just gone. Just gone. Now I have 17 seconds and no one in my queue. Boy, should I take Kendre Miller? Buck, thank you. Buck, you were the one. You were the one who booty pilled me. So, oops, I meant to bring you up here. Oh, God. Yeah, 2 monitors. I'm letting you behind the curtain here. It's not going good. Yeah, you were the one that got me on that. I'm going to take... Gosh, I worry Malik Washington's not even going to be on the team next year, but I don't want to have 0. Buck, you're right. You're right. Phrasing is crucial. But you did highlight some of the positives of Booty. And I do think there's a good chance he has a role next year on an offense that should be better. So I don't mind taking him there. I think he's a good pick at the end of drafts, especially when we're kind of rolling the dice on a lot of these players. I took Malik Washington. I am worried that the Dolphins are not married to this guy they took with a late round pick last year, but could be worse. So I think I'm going to jump in another one. I need another wide receiver, so I'm going to queue up a bunch of guys here. We'll put in more. I think Davis was talking about Roman Wilson as not the worst click late in drafts. I mean, he really was just injured all year, so we don't know what Pittsburgh actually thinks of him. We were drafting him pretty aggressively, so I'll add him to the queue. I don't know who Ricky White is. I'll add him. Nick Nash, I believe he was a wrestler in the 90s, so I like that for my team. Needs a little toughness. And Torrey Horton, who I believe is a Dr. Seuss character. So I'm going to end up with one of these guys. Maybe we'll come back and see who they are, but I will fire up another draft here. And waiting for one. So if anyone wants to hop in, yes, merch available soon, Buck. Merch available soon. At 220, getting a wide receiver that might play all 17 games to get bye week help is completely worth it. I agree. I think that's really all you can hope for. All you can hope for there. All right. I am going to let this start. I need about 15 seconds. I will be. And I am back. All right. So got the third pick. Got the third pick this time. And let's see, anyone I know offhand in here? Don't think so. Names are not familiar, but we shall see what we get. Draft starting in about 30 seconds. All right, so in the 3-hole, mostly just take Bijan. I think gun to my head, I'd rather take Jefferson, but I don't know that I want to muck with my exposures too much in the first round. I think I kind of just want to get the nice, 8% exposures to each position and move on with my life rather than try to take a stand and predict how this goes, because that's how you can end up really getting burned, to me. And so I'll take my stands elsewhere, but not in the first round. So Chase goes, Saquon goes, Bijan goes, and Gibbs. In case anyone was wondering, the other draft we will end up with Elijah Moore. We'll round out the other draft. It just concluded. I got the notification on my phone. So Jefferson falls to 6, which is interesting here. Puka going ahead of him. I think that's fine. I mean, again, to me, it's just about smoothing out the exposures in this range. Nico ahead of Lamb. I disagree there. I would rather have Lamb personally, but again, I don't want to have all Lamb and no Nico. Brian Thomas goes. And now let's see. CMC going at 10 is pretty early, especially because he probably could have gotten him at 15. But did not. All right. Derrick Henry up next. Brock Bowers at 14. So he opens Henry Bowers, which is an interesting start to a team. Bowers going, I do not like taking Bowers in the second round. I know that's where he goes. I will have some of him, but do I think he's that much better than McBride and Kittle and Laporta, who all go way later? I don't know. Especially with the QB situation in Vegas, it's not exactly certain. I just have a real problem going at pick 14. Smarter people than me say that Bowers should go in the first round, but I don't know if I see him separating as much as some people do. So Gene T goes, Josh Jacobs goes. It's a little early for Jacobs. Stansbury does. We'll see if we've got an auto drafter in our midst. No, he takes AJ Brown. Fine pick there. Let's see what good old Diego does. Diego takes a very early Bucky Irving. Interesting. Lad goes. So by ADP, it's Jonathan Taylor. Then it's Tyreek Hill. This is my nightmare. I'm really out on Tyreek this year. And I am not super excited about going double running back. Don't love how my team turned out last pick. But we're going to do it. We're going to go Bijan, Taylor, robust RB bro, and see if we can make up for it. I think Tyreek has lost a step. I think he's going way ahead of where he should be going. I am highly concerned about him falling off. And then Garrett Wilson goes, who I like. I don't know if I really want McLaurin as my wide receiver 1. This is a tough spot for me. I will take McLaurin. I don't want no McLaurin. Obviously, if Jaden Daniels comes to me, I'll take him, but he probably will not, because I pick at 46. His ADP is 38, and people do seem to like the elite quarterbacks quite a bit, at least at this point in the draft cycle. So, I'm not going to hold my breath for Daniels. I'll hopefully add him to the queue, but I don't imagine that's what where we're going to end up. All right. All right, 15 picks away. JSN goes, Chase Brown, McBride goes at 30. So, again, going back to the point earlier, it's just so much easier for me to click McBride at 30 than Bowers at 14. Like, I think you're giving up too much of an elite player by taking Bowers where he goes. And I'm going to have to decide if I want to make a stand on Bowers or not. Because that's just really tough for me to get to there. All right. 12 picks remaining. Josh Allen goes, so our first quarterback goes at 33 there. Pull up the board. Nothing too out of the ordinary. A lot of double running back starts. Man, CMC, HA, and Rice. This is like the riskiest start I could imagine for a team. My God. Not something I would do. Not something I would recommend. As I noted last time, I don't think Rice should go ahead of Worthy in any universe. Here we are. King of Kings. Full-on piss boy. Good for you. Go off. Go off, King. I actually really quite like that start, right? I think you've got some serious running back firepower, and there are some really good rookie running backs you can get late. So, almost prefer that to what I've got going on. And by almost, I probably do, but we shall see. We shall see. All right. So waiting for the old pick. Waiting for the old pick to come through. 5 picks away, so we are being tantalized by the prospect of Jaden Daniels coming back to us. Would be pretty cool. Of course, nobody has a quarterback between us, so it is, we are dodging a lot. If I'm being honest, the guy I'm most worried about is Runyon, because I think he needs a wide receiver. He should take a running back. He takes Jaden Daniels because we simply cannot have nice things. Now, could this guy have taken Jalen Hurts and stacked him with A.J. Brown? Probably. But why do that when you can play bad? That is the question. It's probably not actually bad. I'm just being salty. I really did feel like I was going to get Daniels there because I thought if he took a quarterback, he'd take Hurts. Definitely need a receiver. Would love Worthy. Don't think I'm going to get that lucky, but if I do, I would be thrilled. I do not. I think I'm going to take Tet McMillan. I took Flowers last draft. I'm not super enamored with how that draft turned out. I don't, not huge on Flowers again. If he comes back to me, maybe I'll take him again. I might take Waddle this time if Waddle comes back around. But we shall see. We shall see. So Jalen Hurts goes to this guy who has Saquon. So he's building a little Philly thing. George Kittle goes. And Zay Flowers does come back to me. Question is, do I want Flowers or Waddle? I'm going to trust the market. I will take Flowers again. I like Waddle as a bit of a comeback. I'm going to be doing 150 of these. So I think I'm going to end up with enough Waddle teams to where I don't need to pass on quite a bit of ADP value on Flowers. The difference of 7 picks of ADP around pick 200 is quite a bit less than, at pick 50. So, no problem with this start. Bijan, Taylor, McLaurin, McMillan, and Flowers here. Again, would have loved Daniels, but that did not happen. Did not happen. Kamara goes, and then Godwin. Chris Olave goes. Again, another guy I want more of. I feel like my picks have generally been in like either the top 3 or like the last 3. I haven't gotten too many of the like 6, 7, 8. And that's really where you're going to end up in the kind of Olave zone. I bet if I looked at my exposure, I have almost no Nico, Lamb, or Thomas. I just for some reason have not drawn the 7 through 9 hole very often. There's really nothing you can do about that. Again, it's like playing roulette. Like your number's not going to hit every 36 times. It's a little random. I think I remember last year I got the first pick significantly more than I got the second pick somehow, and I like never had the 7th pick when I looked at my BBMs, and it just can kind of happen that way. Because it is all random, and you're not going to end up with a perfectly smooth run out with 150. It's just not big enough sample to end up with like everyone at nice even 8%. So just something to keep in mind. May at the end have to start forcing exposures a bit, but not quite there yet. 6 picks away. And let's see if we can do better in this range than we did last time. Was not super happy with how the team rounded out at the end. Henderson goes. Jaden Reed goes. 4 picks away. David Montgomery at pick 66. See some of the boomer running backs happening. I will not be taking Mahomes. I have a real hard time clicking Jerry Jeudy. I don't think Jerry Jeudy is very good. I'm again going to have to decide if he's someone I want to fully fade or not. He did have 1,200 yards last year, which seems wild for someone who I just am so skeptical about their talent. They might have to start adding some Judy, but the decision is made for me. Judy goes. There's a lot of wide receivers I like here, and I don't want to end up with this like really bad third running back situation. So I'm going to take Caleb Johnson here, and then I will take a wide receiver, and hopefully, all the ones I want don't go. I like Ridley quite a bit. I like Luther Burden, and I'm going to get one of them, which is great. I took Ridley last draft. I like varying these things. I don't know if I love Ridley and Flowers. Okay, good. So we got to switch it up a bit, right? Like Ridley and Flowers have nothing to do with each other. So I don't like when I end up with too many like of the same combination of uncorrelated pieces, because now I'm forcing guys together that really have nothing to do with one another. So not too bad there. Not too bad there. And we continue. 17 picks. 17 picks. Definitely looking forward to the combine. We'll get a little more information about these players, a little more draft buzz. We won't just be examining pickleball photos, as scintillating an activity as that can be. Not always truly the most fruitful endeavor. So planning ahead, again, going to be tough to make legitimate stacks on this team because 2 of our stacking partners are already gone and 2 are rookies, so we don't know who to stack them with. So we are going to probably be in the camp of just take a good quarterback when it's our pick. In 12 picks, it'll be the early 90s, so we should get, if there is a quarterback we really wanted, we can take them. But we'll see. We'll see. I don't think I have any Bo Nix this year, and there he goes. I took so much Bo Nix last year, and it was so nice because he was nearly free. And I think he's going a little higher than he should. I don't think his rushing upside is quite what we expected. That offense was a little strange. It had the ability to blow teams out. When they played Carolina, they didn't take their foot off the gas, but then they played other games where it felt like they really had the brakes on. So don't know what to expect out of Nix, but I think he's going at kind of a weird spot pretty early. So we'll see. We'll see we'll see what makes sense, how much Nix we get. And I'm also not huge on Sutton, his normal stacking partner. Where does Sutton go? Yeah, Sutton going at 58. So you got to take Sutton first and then take Nix later. And Sutton's a guy that I don't necessarily love having without Nix. But I probably do need to make it more of a point. But again, I think he's going in that middle of the board. Okay, so he went there at 58. It is interesting how your drafts end up affected so much by your starting position. You can end up with very similar teams and putting players together that, again, have nothing to do with one another, but inadvertently kind of implying some kind of correlation that doesn't truly exist, which isn't always the best thing to do. Mark Andrews goes. Jalen Warren, good pick. I think it is likely, again, I will take one of these tight ends, either Njoku or Smith. I don't think I'm going to double tap like I did last time. I wasn't super happy with how the team ended up when I did that. Jonnu goes. I hope Njoku does not go because I really like Njoku significantly more than the other tight end options. But we will see. See what old Runyon does here. You do see Warren go ahead of Njoku sometimes, which I like because I think there's a little bit of a mystery box element in people taking these rookies, when I think you're really happy if Warren ends up what Njoku is, when you can just take Njoku. All right, so we get our guy. I think I would have taken Mooney there. I'm a little skeeved out by Cooper Kupp. Don't like the idea of an unstacked Baker, but I also don't love the idea of getting out of here with no quarterback. I am going to take Baker. He's really good. It's a little annoying to have him unstacked. Maybe I'll take a K-Dot in late or something so that I have something stacked. But I don't want to get out of this range with no quarterbacks, especially when I don't have an obvious stacking partner. If I'm going to have an unstacked quarterback, I'd rather them be someone I consider, borderline elite. So we will see what happens there. All right. 15 picks away. So Warren does go at the 101 to someone who had, so this guy double tapped tight end, and it's tempting to do that there, right? Because the running backs and receivers there are so gross. I don't see a problem doing it. I wish I had a better plan last draft once I did that, but I don't think that's necessarily wrong. Looking at my board, I do want to add some more receivers here. I'm looking a little thinner than I would like to be at receiver. J.K. Dobbins goes. Sharps goes. I would love... Sharps is a guy I think I want to take more in BBM, assuming Seattle doesn't add anyone or anything weird. Again, you just don't know what teams are going to do. Like, Charbonnet was not projected to go to Seattle at all. Ken Walker looked great, and then they took Charbonnet, who I really liked as a prospect, and I think could have been a starter a lot of places, or at the very least, in a timeshare. And instead he went and was essentially a pure backup. You got virtually no production from Charbonnet when Walker was healthy, which is not great. It was not great. All right, 7 picks. Marvin Mims goes. Let's see, did he go to the Bo Nix guy? He did. So he went to the Knicks guy because the Knicks guy did not have Sutton. I think that's fine. Get your stack there. That makes plenty of sense to me. question of who I will take here. I don't think I'll need a running back. As tempting as Najee is, I think I would take Bateman. You know, it's weird to have Flowers and Bateman with no Lamar, but it's not the end of the world. I don't want Travis Hunter because he's actually a cornerback. I would have been fine with Keenan Allen. And gosh, this range feels so bad. Feels so bad, but I simply must get another wide receiver here, or two. You know, it's tempting to take a second quarterback, like a Drake May. If I don't get Bateman, I am feeling pretty bad, I think. Hollywood Brown is there. Oof. I mean, KC is so tough to predict. What are they going to look like when Rice is there? Runyon, you don't need another wide receiver. You need a quarterback, buddy. Just take a quarterback. Hopefully he takes a quarterback and we can take Bateman. But if not, we will press on and probably take Trey Harris. So all right, so he does take a quarterback mercifully. I will take Bateman again. Don't love having Flowers and Bateman with no Lamar, but that is the world in which we live. Cam Scatterbo goes, a couple quarterbacks go. I think I'm going to take Drake May. We take Drake May, tell myself that him and Ted McMillan are going to play together and be awesome together. And yeah, don't hate that. Don't hate that there. So, all right. This team I already feel like I like more than my last team that I drafted from the 2-hole. We've got Baker and Drake May, Bijan, Taylor, and Caleb Johnson at running back, McLaurin, Ted McMillan, Zay Flowers, Luther Burden, Rashad Bateman, and David Njoku rounding out the team. This is also a quarterback room where if I only end up with 2 QBs, it's not the end of the world. So, you know, pretty happy with the team so far, I would have to say. Let's see, where does Otten go? Otten goes in the 150s. So, whoops. So if I want Otten, I believe he's basically got to be, you know, my next pick or the pick after. And we can see what tight end looks like. I'm going to star Otten so I don't forget. Because I think it would be nice to have someone stacked with Baker. I know Hunter Henry is a late tight end that I could conceivably stack with May. He, I believe, would be available with the following pick if I were to do that. Yeah, he'd be right at ADP. So we'll see. We'll see if that's where we end up. It always feels a bit like cheating, stacking your QB with your tight end. It doesn't feel like a true stack. But, you know, we're going to do our best here. We are going to do our best. 12 picks away. Michael Penix goes. Let's see. Michael Penix goes to this weird team. He does have Drake London, so like that. But I don't know about Omarion Hampton, Travion Henderson, and Jack Charbonnet as your 3 running backs. I just think that is really thin. Really thin. As exciting as the rookie running backs are, we all think they're immediately either going to be the starter or in a timeshare. And sometimes it is a few weeks before they have that role. And you can be sitting there just hemorrhaging points. But, you know, that's the way she goes. That's the way she goes. All right. 7 picks away. Appreciate anyone who has stopped by. Definitely more fun doing this with people chatting, and yeah, just happy to be able to do some of these. It is fun to do these drafts and talk out the process. So thank you. Please like and subscribe. It definitely helps the algo push this to more people, because the algo controls all, and if the algo doesn't like you, it's Jover. So all right, 4 picks away. Devin Neal goes at 136, someone that Davis is high on, so by extension I am high on him. Let's see what. Okay, so there are 3 tight ends by ADP ahead of me. These 2 guys should really not be taking a tight end. They already have 2, but you never know. This Runyon guy probably does need a tight end. We will see who he takes. Let's see, though. Is there someone we should be taking ahead of a tight end? Because it is a little bit of a luxury, right? Like, we're counting on Njoku. I think I would actually take Christian Kirk before I would take Cade Otton, because I'll be a lot more upset if I don't get Kirk than if I don't get Otton. If I don't get Otton, it's fine. I don't care that much. I imagine people will take Ferguson, Pitts, and Loveland before they take Otton. Never know. So hopefully Tyler does not take Otton. He takes Tua, which is great. I think we'll just take Otton, windmill it in, and now we can at least tell ourselves we have a Baker stack. So yeah, really like this team. Christian Kirk, I think he's a smash at 142. Definitely happier with this team than the last one. I still would like one more quarterback. I'm tempted to take Cam Ward or McCarthy. Quarterback does kind of die off really fast. But we will see. We will see what happens. So Blake Corum goes, then the aforementioned Loveland goes as the 3rd tight end. People have been pretty rigid wanting 3 QBs and 3 tight ends in these rooms, so positions do thin out faster than they would in the big board. People definitely have been quite keen to do that. Also, with the amount of auto drafters, people who don't set position limits, we've seen a lot of people end up with 4 or 5 QBs. You can end up with 5 QBs very easily if you're not careful. And that does seem to happen to people. And if someone has 5 QBs, that really squeezes the rest of the room when you get to the late round QB situation. So something to be aware of, to watch the kind of watch the ticker, right, and see what's going on, because you can be used to a certain amount of QBs being available somewhere and it being significantly less if you've got someone autoing, just hoovering up the QBs at ADP. So unfortunately, I am going to have to call the stream here. My something has come up in real life, so I'm going to jump off. But I'm going to have to finish this draft on my phone. Thank you for anyone who stopped by. I really appreciate it. Your support means a ton to me. It's so much fun to hang out and to talk. Again, I'm sorry I am going to be having to end this one early, but I got to jump. Life gets in the way. I will see you all probably tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye.